for the record.
Okay. Yes, my name is Todd Rogers. I'm with Rogers Chenault Inc. My home address is 9250 Shelton Point Drive. And what I'm here tonight to do, I'm going to be on vacation, thank goodness, from May 30th to June 9th. Charles, I know you're going to miss me. Spent a lot of time together here lately. But anyway, I wanted to kind of give you all some updates on some changes and some more concessions that we're doing with the Westland rezoning, which I know won't be in front of you all until June 16th. But with the time period I'm out of town and trying to maybe meet with you guys individually may be a little bit harder to do than normal. So I wanted to try to take about 5 minutes to go through some information that you may already know or what have you, but I tried to summarize some things here. So what I'd like to do is pass these out, but these are all part of what will be up on the board here. Okay. There should be extra copies.
Thank you, sir.
As we all know, that Westland has been a very controversial zoning case that's been out there. There's a lot of history and background to it. I'm not going to bore you with all those tonight. What I did want to do is kind of tell you some changes, even since the last meeting that we had in front of the town council, that we've made to hopefully be able to gain your support for our case. All of the changes we'll go through individually tonight. What I'd like, Nora, if you could put up the main plan. There we go, good. So in your packet there, you have a color copy of the main plan there, and I just wanted to kind of go over this a little bit to let you know some of the changes that we made in the blocks, and I should have gotten a pointer, I guess. Is this a pointer? Oh, look at that.
You're going to want to point it to the back.
Oh, okay. In these blocks here, all through where my pointer, those 5 blocks of lots, what we've done is we've taken one lot out of each one of those blocks, and what that's enabled us to do is to be able to do some varied lot sizes within those blocks. And so as an illustration, you can tell by the new layout now, I've kind of identified, and there's also an insert in here that will tell you the new lot sizes and the varied lot dimensions in there to kind of give you some varied lot sizes throughout the development. If you can go to the Westland density, the first one. So we've talked about density, and density is obviously a major concern of the citizens. We recognize that. And I know that a lot of this information, again, you already know and you've kind of heard over and over again, but the existing by right zoning allows for 180 units on the property, but it's only on 35 acres. So really the density of the 35 acres is about 5.14 units to the acre. With our reduction in the number of units that we are now at, and by the way, we have not submitted those to the town yet. They'll be submitted in the next few days, a new site plan and the new proffers that'll combine these items. But we're down to 3.56 units per acre. So if you look at it, or at least the way that I look at it, it's about a 30% reduction over what you already have approved on the property, or at least the majority of the property there. If you took the other 17 acres, if you will, the difference between the 52 and the 35, if you took the other 17 acres difference, I think it would be a reasonable expectation for someone, if they were coming in through a rezoning, that being in the 1 to 4 units per acre, that you would get at least 1 unit per acre there. So really the density difference, if you look at the two numbers, is more 197 at a minimum, in my opinion, to 187. So we're actually much less even at full build out of the property, if you can follow that kind of logic going through. The by right zoning, we've talked before. The by right zoning has no road improvements, exterior road improvements. The Westland rezoning proposal has a 6-foot widening of the of Chapman Road. It also has 2 right turn lanes that will be added to it. We've gone over these. $150,000 in off-site road improvements that will be added. And then if you can go back to the main layout again. Another thing that we've proposed, and we're waiting on staff is kind of digesting this right now, to try to help the traffic concerns out there what we've proposed is on these three streets here, this one, and this one here, we've proposed those to go one way in that direction. What that will do is force this traffic, or the traffic generated by these units here, to exit out the main entrance where the road improvements are being made in the morning. Okay, the afternoon traffic, of course, would have to come down and turn right on Chapman to get back in because they are one-way streets. That's just something that we were thinking of that may help the overall traffic control in that area, and we would certainly be interested in any input that we can get from the police department also, and anything like that. That would be good. But we think that would help. We know that the right turn into Chapman's probably not as big of a situation than coming here and trying to make a left turn out with no of those widening improvements that we're doing at this intersection. So the thought we had that we'd be willing to make those there. We're also going to make sure that all the pavement widths are 30 feet wide. It'll allow us, if you go with those one-way streets too, it'll allow us also to be able to park cars on either side and still be able to get cars through the middle very comfortably. So if you have on-street parking, it would certainly help that situation also if you made it one way. So those are just some of the ideas that we've floated around that hopefully that the staff will give us some input on here very shortly on that. So if you go to the next slide, I'm sorry. My slide's not exactly a PowerPoint, sorry. It's more of a email with a scan. But again, this is more of the, just a larger version of what I hand wrote on the overall plan to kind of give you an idea. We deleted 5 lots, like I mentioned, and then we're able to do some varied lot sizes, which will allow us to do more side-load garages, which we've heard a lot of. We've heard a lot of the side-load garage concerns, so it'll allow us to do more of those because now we have more side yard areas to where we can shift the house over a little bit and be able to do side-load garages. So we can go to the next slide. So what we're willing to proffer on this, we've already proffered that on the houses fronting Chapman Street, there'll be a minimum of 50%, which there's 15 lots on Chapman Street, so there's minimum 8 lots that will be side-load garages there. And then all the other single-family detached, we're going to proffer that a minimum of 25% of those lots would have side-load garages on them. So if you add the 8 and the 21 to 29 lots, that overall in the whole single-family detached area, which again, oh shoot, I can't show you with that, but again is anywhere but the townhouse area. So any of these areas here, about 30% of those homes will have side-load garages on those homes. Again, trying to come to what some of the wants of the comprehensive plan is as far as the limitation or the limiting of front load garages in there. And again, that will be a proffer that we'll be submitting shortly with the revised proffers. The by right development, you may know already, has no restrictions on. Matter of fact, doesn't have any side load garages at all in the by right development. Some other concerns we've heard is the goal of the comprehensive plan basically has 52 units per year, or certificate of occupancies per year, is what the target is, and they're afraid that this abundance of coming in at one time. So we've proffered already that we wouldn't build any more or ask for any more than 40 certificate of occupancies per year. But I thought it would be interesting to just see the history recently, the 5-year history of the certificate of occupancies that have been issued by the town of Ashland or in the town of Ashland. You can see the math up there. 2010 was 39, 2011 30, 12 20, 2013 was 13, 2014 was 23. To give you a total of 125 certificate of occupancies that have been issued over the last 5 years, which is around 25 per year, which is well below your target of 52 per year. So if you look at the total shortage over the last 5 years, you actually have 135 that are kind of, if you want to look at it from where your planning purposes of your comprehensive plan is compared to where you are today, you're kind of behind a lot, as a matter of fact, over 50% that you're behind there. So again, and all this information, by the way, we're going to share again when the public's here. I'm not trying to do this without the public. I just wanted you all to have the benefit of the information as soon as we could get it in front of you. So I wanted to make sure of that. Lastly, I think it's important, even though we haven't really talked about the financial impact of the Westland rezoning compared to the by right, compared to the neighboring properties around. So the Westland property, we've talked about it before. Right now we've got a total of 187 units. Doing the math, we're about $54 million in value there. $292,000 would be in the average sales price. Again, there's mention in your comprehensive plan of being around $300,000. So we're certainly meeting all the intents there. The Green Acres piece, the way I got the value for the apartments, I took the Ashland Town Square apartments, the assessment of that, and divided it by the number of units. To get that, I had to get it from somewhere. So that was an already assessed property in the town. So that's how I got that assessment there. So I have an asterisk down the bottom so you know where I got that from. The townhomes, by virtue of the fact that about half of them will not have garages in the by right development, the value of those would be between $200 and $250 with an average of $225 in there. So that's why that number is down at $225. So the by right development gives you about half the total value on the same piece of property, if you will. Now, again, to be fair, and I want to make sure everybody hears this, I did not add those other 17 acres into that of course would have some value that would come forward on there. Neighboring properties, what we did, and I'm going to give you a sheet here as soon as I find it. We took the tax map, and what we did is that bordered by Carter's Hill to the north, North James Street to the east, and Route 54 to the south. What we did is we took all the assessments of those properties, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, sir.
Handing those out there. This just gives you kind of a highlighted area. What I did is I took all the assessments of those properties around there. Now, in order to qualify, those properties had to have a house on it. Okay? So I did not take into consideration any vacant lots. I did not take into consideration if the improvement assessment was so low that it would seem like it was maybe just a garage or potentially an inhabitable house. So trying to give you some ideas, there's about 350, as a matter of fact, exactly 350 homes that were taken into consideration in those areas. The average assessment was $198,000, or the total assessment was $69,625,000. The average was $198,929. I know there's been some concern that this development would potentially decrease the value of the surrounding properties. I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves as far as what this property will do as far as the property values that are immediately surrounding it per the diagram that I gave you. Once this development is done, if it's done like Westland, it actually would increase if you combine Westland and the neighboring properties, it would increase the total value of both of them by 16%. So the total value would go up to about $231,000 per unit, which is currently $198,000. If you did the by right development contrastly, that would go down to about $180,000 per unit if you did it on a per unit basis going down there. Again, I just thought some of these numbers were interesting that you may want to take consideration. Lastly, and I do appreciate your indulgence for letting me make a little presentation tonight. Two things lastly. One, I want to let y'all know one way or another, this property is going to be developed. It's going to be developed either with a Westland type development in significant similarity to what we have right now, subject to maybe some minor changes, or it's going to be developed like the by right. The by right obviously still has the stipulation that we've all talked about, and we'd all have to figure out where that is. I don't know where that's going to land, and I'm sure none of us really know where that's going to land. But I do know this, is that I think either way the property is going to be developed, and it will be developed by us. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to do. That's what we've agreed to do with the owner. I just feel like that the Westland styles is better, if you will, for the town. And obviously, y'all are the ones that are charged with that decision. And I do not envy you guys to have to, and ladies, have to make that decision, but I know it's a tough one. Lastly, I will offer also that I'm still available to meet with you guys individually. I know we can't meet more than 2 at one time, but individually I'd be glad to meet. Again, I'm going to be out of town the 30th through the 9th. So if anybody has any questions or any other thoughts or whatever, I'd be glad to meet with you guys at any time. So thank you again for allowing me some time this evening to talk about those few things.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.